Hi everybody and welcome to Yummy Eats for One. I'm Chef Tim Bob, because you know on YouTube, everybody's got to be chef. Hi, today we're going to make Japanese pork soup. Yeah, I know that sounds kind of weird, but it's really good. Okay, what you're going to need for the broth is, for the broth you're going to need the green parts of a green onion. I actually cut this a little too early, so I got just pieces, but that's alright. A clove of garlic crushed, a 1.5 inch piece of ginger, which I don't happen to have. I actually have some of these at home, usually. It's like sliced ginger, and since you got to pick this out later, I'm just going to put it in a strainer in there. About 1 teaspoon or so, I like mine a little spicy, so I added a little more, of dried chilies cut into rings, 1 3/4 cups of chicken stock, and about 4 ounces of pork. Now the original recipe calls for pork belly, which is really hard to find in the States, and by the way, pork belly is what they make bacon out of, so it's really fatty. And well, I didn't have it the first time I did it, but I had a pork loin, which had this like one marbly piece on there. I used that. But this time, what I did is I actually did some some ribs, some pork ribs, and after I trimmed them. Oh, by the way, don't ever, like above the ribs, there's about that much usually. And a lot of times people cook it, and then when they eat it, they kind of spit it out because it's mostly fat. Yeah, well, actually, don't. Cut it off first and then trim off the meat. If you have like a baggie like that, there's usually about that much meat you can get out of there. You can use it for stir fries or something like this. Now, if you're going to use pork belly or something like that, you wouldn't need to add any oil to it. But since I'm pretty much using like the top of the rib meat, I have it sliced into really small pieces. It doesn't have that much fat on it. You're going to want to add some oil in there. Put it in there and pretty much stir fry it until it's done. Okay, time to add in your dried chili peppers. I forgot to mention this. You need 2 tablespoons of sake. If you don't have that, you can probably use vodka or any cooking wine you have. The alcohol burn off, so don't worry about that. Give it a little stir there for a bit. Deglaze your pan. Okay, let it sit for a minute, and then you're going to want to add your chicken stock. And then you would add your garlic, green onion ends, and ginger to it. And here's the chicken stock. And since I don't have that, I'm going to stick it in a strainer like this so it's easier to remove. Turn it up on high and bring it to a boil. Okay, after it comes to a boil, turn it down to a medium-low or so, and just let it simmer for about 10 minutes. And while that's going, we're going to prep the rest of our stuff. Okay, what you need to prepare is about 4 ounces of mushrooms. Here I have baby portobellos because they were on sale. The more white parts of the green onions, and the green chivy parts for later. You're also going to need 3 tablespoons of soy sauce, 1/2 teaspoon of vinegar, and just a titch of sesame oil. If you don't have any sesame oil, don't worry about it. You can live. Okay, it's been about 10 minutes. Here's where you'd pick out your onions, garlic, and ginger, or just kind of go like that. You're going to want to skim off the foam if there's any. Now you're going to want to add your mushrooms and the white parts of your onion. And 3 tablespoons of soy sauce. I'm using Kikkoman because it's naturally brewed rather than a chemical one, which there is actually a big difference. Give it a stir to make sure it's all in the broth. Put it up to a boil again. And after it boils, put it down to simmer for about 5-6 minutes or so. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes here. You know, the mushrooms are nice and soft and all that. Give it a little taste here. Really yummy. Now it's going to be kind of twangy. It's not a mild soup, but add about 1 teaspoon of vinegar, or 1/2 teaspoon, I'm sorry, and some pepper. I'm using white pepper because it'll give it a really interesting flavor. I mean, if you don't have white pepper, use black pepper. That's okay. That's the original recipe calls for. I just kind of like the flavor the white pepper will give it. Oops. And a teeny little titch of sesame oil. I mean, if you don't have sesame oil, don't worry about it. I really don't like sesame oil that much, but it really doesn't stand out in here. It just adds a little background flavor to it. And let it go for about another 5 minutes or so. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes. Throw in your green onions, stir it around a bit, then turn it off. And just let it sit for a minute. And there's your Japanese pork soup. Doesn't that look good? You know, the really good thing about this is that you make it in small batches. You know, you got about 2 cups out of there. And, you know, if you have a little leftover rice, you can throw that in there. If you have little spaghetti noodles, chop them up, throw that in there. You know, let your imagination run wild. I mean, you know, try it, you know. It might not be too perfectly your taste. It might be a little twangy for you. Something you can cut down to the soy sauce or whatever you want the next time. But I think you'll really enjoy this. And, you know, even if you have a couple pieces of broccoli left over, throw them at the end or something. You know, everything's like you're the one who has to eat it. Make it your own. See you next time.